Welcome back to the second segment of this video. In the previous video on the 2018 Olympics, I sort of wrapped up the ongoings of what happened from beginning to end. I told you about the skiing, the snowboarding, that kind of thing, but this time we're going to go into the gold medal winners. Other gold medal winners, the U.S. men's, women, the U.S. men's and women's ice hockey won gold. That's been something new that's happened. I should say it's not happened in about 20 years. The women's ice hockey did better this time around because they had a well-rounded team, and if you follow hockey in the NHL, you know that that wherever the family goes, so goes the family of their offspring, as it were. And so there were some women and men on both sides, sons and daughters, playing hockey as well in the Olympics. However, this time around, the NHL did not release any of the men into the Olympics in PyeongChang, but that may change by 2022. Time will tell on that one, won't it? But as I was saying, in hockey, both women and men in PyeongChang both won the gold medal, and that has been a long time coming. The very first time of many times, the bigger legacy of the Olympics, where the men in Lake Placid 1980 won the gold medal, defeating Russia, or USSR at the time. And this time, things were different. The Russian team was called OAR, that is Olympic Athletes from Russia. And the reason why was because some of the players of the sports teams had not passed a mandatory drug test, which are usually common in Olympics. And I believe, from what my understanding was, that the IOC had lifted the ban on Russia, and they are now they're now eligible to play as a team, as a united Russia team overall, and they will be playing in 2020 in Tokyo, I think. Don't quote me on that one, but they are eligible to play as a team again. And also, they'll be returning for 2022 in Beijing, China. That's it. Oh, I love live videos, because you never know what's going to happen to you when you kind of go blank. Pretty much, we do that, don't we? But I really look forward to the 2020 Olympics, but more importantly to me, the 2022 Olympics. And I really hope that we will see more events come about, and I'm not really sure of what they all are coming up in Beijing, China. All I do know is that one event is coming. It's called bandy. Those of you in other countries, Canada, north of the United States, Canada, England, and Europe, and places in there, I imagine you've heard bandy. It is a game like hockey, but it's played with a ball. I'm not sure if they use the same hockey type sticks or not. If you know of this event, please leave the comment down below and let me know. And I would love to get more fully immersed into the sports of the Olympics, of what's coming up event-wise in both winter and summer games. So if you know something that I don't know, please let me know on that. On a side note, speaking of Olympics, the most talked about event that has been talked about in Olympics that has never come back. Long ago, I'm going back about 2,000-3,000 years on this one. Long ago, dancing was part of the Olympics. That is the Women's Olympics. There were Olympics and I should say The Olympics, if you will, is the Super Bowl, pardon the pun, of the games. And what that was there were a culmination of 5 games leading up to the Olympic Games, and the fifth element was the Olympics, and there were 4 others before that. They would play around it. They would play rounds, I should say, and in Rome, Olympia, I believe, Athens, and a few other cities and countries, and they would offshoot into the next Olympics, or the Olympic type games, and they would end up in the Olympics. So over time, over a period of about 2-3 thousand years, give or take, um, they had these Olympics that took place, or Olympic Games, or offshoot games, more or less. Women's games were not really sports. They in the early games that came around the time of the Olympics in 776 BCE or BC, um, they were a little different. They were more about writing poetry. The women sang songs. They did crafts, that kind of thing. Sports came along to them at a later time, and they were called the Hera Games. And I really think that they've come a long way since then, because women really did not really enter the Olympics until 1924, I believe, in the Winter Games, and they were added on in the Summer Games later on. And I really, as you can tell, I'm really immersed in the Olympics and the sports of it, and the traditions, the heritage, the history, everything about it. But we have to have a deep knowledge of things like this, because they're finding out in a magazine I was reading. Uh, they're finding out that there were sports and there are artifacts that they have been finding that prove these things, like the certain weight and the circumference of the discus. They found javelin pieces, and they actually found a block um, that was left behind in Athens, and they found another one over in Olympia, or actually Mount Olympus. And you historians out there who know the Olympics as well as I do, you know they found this instrument that it shows, well, it shows like a clock type gears, and it shows the sun and moon and the earth moving within the same rotation of each other as we know it now. And the point is, where I'm getting at, um, this this timepiece was made so they had a distance of a certain length of time. The sun came back around with the moon and the other planets in line. And what that told them was every 4 years they would have the Olympics when those planets line up again. Do you follow me? So this is like an every 4 year thing, and that's how it began. But if you'll notice, we are starting to see the Olympics more often, because it used to be, if you remember, if you're about my age, or if you remember the game cycle at one time, the Olympics used to be February, for example, Winter Games. June, July, August, somewhere in there, depending on where the country was, the host country, that was the Summer Games, and they were held the same time, February, winter, summertime months, Summer Games. But lately, they wanted to put more emphasis on the Winter Games, and so that is why you see a division, or a split of the length of time. So if you think about it now, it's kind of like every 2 years, but in reality, it's still a 4 year Olympic timetable that these things happen. But up until 1992, I believe. 1992 was the last time you saw the Olympics. February, of course, that would be late winter, and you'd have the Summer Games sometime between June, July, and August of '92. After that, the next Winter Games was 1994 Lillehammer, and you would not see the Summer Games again until '96. And no, there was no Winter Games in '96. They came in '98, Nagano, Japan, or Nagano if you are more in depth with the language in Japan, in Japanese. But it's interesting how they wanted to put more emphasis on the Olympics, so they split them up, and now it seems like they're running consecutively 2 years on a 2-year cycle, if you want to call it that. But I believe that the Olympics are, for all intents and purposes, getting away from the stigma of what used to be, the mythology, the Zeus thing, where they were bowing down to Zeus, and they had the altar, which is now called the cauldron or the torch. And yes, and true to form as Olympic history goes, they still do follow the pattern of running the marathon, which I don't know if you knew this. Marathon, if you go back into history, at the end of the war, I forgot his name. I should know this by now, but I don't. I forgot right now. But he ran from, I believe, Olympia to Marathon, or vice versa, declaring the end of that war. And today, that is still done. It was 28.6 miles in each direction, or from one end to the other, one city to the next. And today, before the Olympics, wherever the Olympics are going to be that year, they run the after they have the Olympics going through the entire country and onto the home city. They do a 28.6 mile marathon in to the stadium where the games are going to be, and then as the closing comes, before the closing ceremonies, they have the skier or the runner. They take the torch into the stadium after a 28.6 or so mile jog back into the stadium, extinguish the stadium or the flame. They start over again. They take the flame from that torch, light it, they pass it on to the next city, and it begins again. I hope you got as much knowledge out of this as I did in looking up the Olympic history for you and the games to come and the next cities. And I can tell you for a fact that Paris and Los Angeles are next up for the Summer Games in I believe 26 and 28. But back to here and now. But I hope you enjoyed this, the second video on the Olympics, and I do hope next time around that other countries who usually make top of the medals, USA of course, Canada, France, Italy, Germany, you get the idea. The ones that are usually on the top were kind of like in the middle of the medal rounds, but we will see more history making records, and the old records will fall, the new records will rise, and we'll see a whole new history in the pages of sports. But if you like this video, please leave a comment below and let me know. And if you know about the new or the experimental sports that are going to introduce in 2020 and 2022, please leave a comment below and let me know. And I will see you on the next video, and I will do something different, maybe sports related, I don't know. But depending on the outcome of this video, and the comments and likes, please let me know your feelings on this, and I hope you have a good day. Take care.